She was the daughter of a cartel king. He was a mafia boss with a code that even the devil respected. And the man who tried to sell her was her own blood. This is the story of Ava Sanchez, a woman who was stolen, survived, and came back to collect everything that was taken from her. Stay with me, because this one doesn't end the way you think. This is not just a revenge story. This is the story of a woman who was buried by her past, and returned to bury the people who destroyed it. Before we start, subscribe, because stories this dark, this intense, and this unforgettable deserve a front row seat. You have to understand something about Miguel Sanchez before we talk about his daughter. Miguel wasn't just a cartel boss. He was a builder. In a world where most men in his position ruled through fear alone, Miguel ruled through loyalty. He built the Sanchez cartel ring from nothing, corridors through Mexico, networks across borders, an operation so tight and so disciplined that even his rivals respected him. And he had one rule above all others: family was sacred. That rule, as it turned out, would be the very thing his brother used to destroy him. Danny Sanchez, Miguel's younger brother, had always lived in his shadow. And in that shadow, something dark had been growing for years. Jealousy, greed, ambition without conscience. The rumors were never confirmed. They never are in this world. But the whispers said the same thing everywhere. Danny didn't wait for Miguel to step down. He made sure Miguel couldn't. Miguel Sanchez was found dead. The official story was a rival hit. A clean, convenient lie that the underworld swallowed whole because Danny made sure there was nothing left to question. Just like that, the king was gone. And Danny stepped into the throne like he'd been measuring himself for it his entire life. The men fell in line. The money moved. The operation continued. But there was one problem. One loose end. Miguel's daughter, Ava. Ava Sanchez was 26 years old when she lost her father. She had grown up around power. She understood it. She wasn't afraid of it. But she had also been raised by a man who believed in something beyond the game. Miguel had kept her close but separate. Educated, sharp, protected. And now that protection was gone. Danny knew his niece wasn't just a grieving daughter. She was a witness, a symbol, a threat. As long as Ava Sanchez existed, there would always be people in the cartel who remembered whose daughter she was, and who might one day decide that she had a stronger claim to what her father built than the man who stole it. Danny couldn't have that. But Danny was also greedy, and in his mind, even a problem could be turned into profit. He made a call, a private one. An auction was arranged. Not just any auction. The kind that happens in unmarked warehouses and velvet-draped backrooms. The kind where the buyers are drug lords, arms traffickers, and men with more money than morality. The kind where women are sold the way other people sell cars. Ava was put in a transport. Wrists bound. Moved across borders like cargo. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She memorized every face she saw, every name she heard, every detail of every room they moved her through. Because Ava Sanchez, even in chains, was already planning. Now let me tell you about Malik Jones. Because to understand what happened next, you need to understand who Malik was. And more importantly, why he was there. Malik Jones was 34 years old. Born in Alabama. Raised on not enough. He was the kind of man who could have gone a dozen different ways in life. He was smart enough, disciplined enough. But life has a way of narrowing your options when the people you love are suffering. His mother was sick. Seriously sick. The kind of medical bills that don't care how hard you work or how many jobs you hold. And Malik, who would have done anything for the woman who raised him, made a choice. He entered the game. He was good at it. Frighteningly good. He moved up fast in the Alabama underworld. Smart, ruthless when he had to be, loyal to the men under him. He became a boss. A real one. The kind who ran deep operations, moved serious product, and had enough power that even federals thought twice about approaching him directly. But here's what made Malik Jones different from every other man in that life. He had rules. Real ones. Not the kind men invent to make themselves feel better. Real, unbreakable lines that he had drawn in the earth and never crossed. No women. No children. No trafficking. Full stop. In a world built on exploitation, Malik refused to touch it. His men knew it. His rivals knew it. Even the people who hated him respected it. Human trafficking was not a gray area for Malik Jones. It was a red zone. So when word reached him through his network about a private auction, about a woman being sold at the highest levels of the underworld, most people assumed he'd stay far away. Instead, he got on a plane. His second-in-command, Dex, asked him the obvious question on the drive there. "Boss, you said human trafficking is a red zone. So why are we walking into the room?" Malik didn't even look at him. "Because if I don't walk in that room," he said, "she ends up with someone who'll make her wish she was dead. I buy her. She goes free. That's it." Dex stared at him. "That's not how these things work, Malik. That's how I work." The auction room was everything you'd expect from men who had more money than God and less conscience than a machine. Velvet curtains. Expensive suits. The smell of cigars and something colder underneath it all. The casual cruelty of men who had long ago stopped seeing other people as people. Ava was brought to the platform. She stood straight. Chin up. Eyes forward. She refused, absolutely refused, to give anyone in that room the satisfaction of seeing her break. The bidding started. Numbers climbed fast. 800,000. 900. 1,000,000 too. A fat man in a white suit was grinning like he'd already won. From the back of the room, Malik raised his hand. 1.2 million. The room turned to look at him. A quiet black man in simple clothes, no jewelry, no flash. Water in his glass, not whiskey. The most dangerous person in the room because he was the only one who wasn't performing. The fat man glared. 1.4. Malik didn't blink. 2 million. Flat. No one moved. The handler's gavel came down. Sold. To the gentleman from Alabama. If this story's got your attention so far, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming. And drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what you're feeling right now. Because this is just the calm before everything changes. When they brought Ava to the back room, she was ready for anything. She had run every scenario in her mind 100 times. She knew how to calculate exits, how to look for weaknesses, how to survive whatever came next. What she was not prepared for was a man who looked at her and told the guards to leave, who pulled out a knife and cut her free. She stared at him. "What do you want?" "Nothing," he said. "You're free." She almost laughed. Free. In the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the worst men alive. Free. He told her he was taking her to Alabama. That she could stay as long as she needed and leave whenever she wanted. That he wanted nothing in return. She asked him point blank, "What do you get out of this?" He met her eyes. "To sleep at night." And here's the thing about Ava Sanchez. She had been raised around powerful men her entire life. She knew a lie when she heard one. She knew manipulation. She knew every face that power wears. She looked at Malik Jones for a long time. She didn't find a lie. She went with him. The first few weeks were quiet ones. Malik's estate in Alabama was nothing like what Ava expected. It was a fortress, yes. She recognized the security, the layout, the controlled perimeter, but it was also home. Warm in a way that surprised her. Like whoever built it actually intended to live there, not just survive. Malik gave her space. He didn't hover. He didn't ask questions she wasn't ready to answer. He brought her coffee in the morning and didn't make a production of it. Slowly, carefully, they started to talk. She learned about his mother, about the choice he made, about the soul he felt he'd traded away piece by piece to keep her alive. He had saved his mother but lost himself somewhere along the way, and he knew it. He learned about her father, about who Miguel really was behind the legend, about a little girl who grew up watching her father build something with his hands and his word, and who had always believed she would one day carry it forward. Until the night Danny took it all. And here is the moment everything changed between them. Ava looked at Malik one evening on the porch, the Alabama sky burning the most impossible shade of gold, and she said, "I'm not running, Malik. I came from that world, and I intend to take it back." Malik looked at her for a long moment, and then he said, "Then you're going to need someone who knows how the underworld moves." What happened next was something neither of them had planned. They worked together, side by side, late into the nights, building something that looked like a war plan but felt like a partnership neither of them had known they were looking for. Ava understood the Sanchez operation from the inside, the corridors, the contacts, the pressure points. Malik understood the American underworld the way a chess grandmaster understands a board. He could see 5 moves ahead in a game that killed most people on move 2. They argued hard. They pushed each other. Neither one folded easily. But they built something. A strategy. A network. A plan to dismantle Danny's empire from the outside in, cutting his Houston distribution contact, starving his cash flow, isolating him until the moment he left Mexico and stepped onto American soil. Because Danny had a trip planned. A summit with buyers on the East Coast. He was coming to them. And somewhere in all those late nights and sharp disagreements and quiet mornings, something else was being built too. Something neither of them named out loud for a long time. But it was there. Real as the empire they were constructing together. Malik, who had spent years telling himself he was past feeling anything, who had entered this life as a sacrifice and never expected to get anything back, started to remember what it felt like to protect something not out of obligation, but out of love. And Ava, who had sworn to herself that grief would be her only fuel, found that she had more room inside her than just rage. They were falling. Slowly. Completely. And they both knew it. Danny Sanchez landed at Dulles Airport on a Tuesday night. He came the way men like him always travel, surrounded, protected, untouchable. 4 guards. A motorcade. The absolute certainty that he was the most dangerous thing in any room he entered. He walked down the steps of his private jet like a man who had already won. He did not notice the 2 black SUVs idling at the edge of the tarmac. He did not notice the figure watching from the terminal window above. He reached his car. His door opened. Inside, Malik. Sitting quietly. Arms at rest. Calm. Danny reached for his weapon. Too late. His 4 guards were already down. Dex's team. Fast. Clean. Professional. Malik looked at him and said, "My name doesn't matter. But the woman who sent me. You know her name very well." Danny turned slowly. And there she was. Ava Sanchez stepped from the shadows. The daughter he had sold. The loose end he thought he had tied. For the first time in his life, perhaps the only time, Danny felt something he had made others feel 1,000 times over. Fear. "Ava." She walked toward him. Steady. No trembling. No tears. Just the quiet, absolute certainty of a woman who had survived the worst he could do to her, and had spent every day since preparing for this moment. "You thought selling me was the end of the story, Tio," she said. "You forgot. My father raised me." She reached into her coat. "And he taught me to finish what I start." 6 months later. The Sanchez name still existed, but it meant something different now. Ava was at her desk in Alabama, building something new from the ruins of what Danny had stolen. Legitimate enterprises. Real estate. Logistics. The bones of her father's empire, rebuilt without the blood. Malik walked in one morning and set down 2 cups of coffee. He watched her work for a moment. Then he slid an envelope across the desk. She opened it. A deed. The family compound in Guadalajara, the home her father had built, transferred into her name. She stared at it for a long time. "Your father built that," Malik said simply. "It should belong to his daughter." Ava looked up at him. Something moved across her face. Grief and gratitude and love all tangled together into something too large for a single word. "We built something here too," she said quietly. Malik held her gaze. "Yeah," he said. "We did." And that, right there, is where I want to leave you. Not with the violence. Not with the revenge, though she earned every moment of it. But with 2 people who found each other in the darkest place either of them had ever been. Who chose something better. Who built something real out of the wreckage. Ava Sanchez lost her father, her freedom, and almost her life. But she never lost the one thing Danny couldn't take from her. Who she was. And Malik Jones? A man who entered a broken world to save his mother, and somewhere along the way, lost the part of himself that believed he deserved saving too. Until Ava reminded him. Some people are born into power. Some people fight their way back to it. The rarest ones learn to share it. If this story hit different, share it. Drop a comment. Tell me what part got you. And if you want more stories like this, love, power, betrayal, redemption, subscribe. Because we are just getting started. I'll see you in the next one.